Broadcasting from the Vancouver Convention Center in British Columbia, Solutions Review is on location at the FME User Conference 2022, the peak of data integration. Brought to you by Safe Software.
I'm Doug Atkinson here in Vancouver, British Columbia at the FME User Conference 2022, and I'm pleased to be joined by the founder of the classification guru, Susan Walsh.
Hello.
Hello.
Nice to meet you.
I haven't had the pleasure of talking to a guru yet.
Yes, self-appointed, I have to say.
Well, I'm eager to chat. So you're here actually presenting around dirty data. Yes. Which I want to get involved with.
Yes.
Well, I don't actually want to get involved with the dirty data.
Most people don't.
So tell us about that. Why don't you want to have dirty data?
Well, for a start, it makes your life a lot easier. That doesn't motivate you to keep it clean, then I don't know what will. But from a business perspective, if you have dirty data, you could be at risk of fraud. You might not be compliant with things like privacy laws. Imagine a database or a CRM system with lots of names and addresses and they're not quite right, or you might have duplicates. It's not just good enough to protect that data, it also has to be accurate. So you could get a huge fine for being in breach of that. That could then cause reputational damage if you're all over the press, and that can be so much harder to come back from than paying someone or getting your team to focus on having clean data in the first place. And
Oh, go ahead.
So I also work with procurement teams and I classify data to show them what they're spending their money on within their organizations so that they can then make cost savings. I mean, you would be amazed, but some organizations, for example, might have 50 different suppliers for office supplies. You don't need to be buying office supplies from that many different places. But without classifying it and having that organized data, you would never know.
So you've actually written the book on this topic.
I have, yes.
Between the Spreadsheets.
Yes, that's
Great
it.
title.
Thank you. I think, let's face it, cleaning data is not anything that anyone wants to do. Data can be really intimidating for a lot of people who are especially not in the data world, even though they are working with data like every day. We're all working with data. And I really wanted to make something that was lighthearted. You look at the title and think, yeah, that looks like an interesting book. I want to pick that up. But yeah, actually has a serious message behind it and helpful hints and tips on how to actually keep your data clean as well.
So, so how do people stay away from dirtying their data? Where are the best practices here?
Oh, well, you have just asked the perfect question. I have created a methodology called the coat methodology. So I say make sure your data has its coat on, like a jacket. So first of all, it's got to be consistent. So that means let's all talk in the same language, using the same terminology. In a global world now, we use different units of measure. Are we talking inches or centimeters, meters? How do you spell kilometers? Is it ER or RE at the end? How are you formatting your dates? Because if it's US versus say UK, then you might not get documents to match. So get everybody on the same page using the same information. And then it has to be organized. So that is things like categorizing it. And that could be like I do with spend, or it could just be, let's categorize it by country or by region or by business unit or by person. It could be anything. So that when someone asks you, how much did we sell in Canada with this person in 2020, you can just pull that information out really quickly. And then of course it has to be accurate. So that's your A. And making sure it's as right as it can be. It would be foolish to say that it's going to be right 100% of the time, but aim for as good as you can get. So once you've got your consistency, your organization, and your accuracy, you then have trustworthy data. So guess what that means? That means you can make better business decisions. You can go and provide reports to senior management, knowing that the information that you are giving them is right. That gives you credibility as an employee, as a department. And it it's just a helpful guide to get everybody kind of focusing on keeping that data clean, because it's not just a data person's responsibility, it's not just IT's responsibility, it's everybody's responsibility to keep that data clean.
Well, and so the trustworthy bit, everybody wants.
Yeah, not many people have though.
Right. And it strikes me that there's some of those letters in code are harder than others.
Yeah.
Where do you find the largest resistance on the way to kind of that nirvana end game?
I think possibly the consistency, because you're working with multiple people, possibly across multiple countries, getting everybody on the same page.
And it's a cultural problem,
yeah,
right?
it can be, yeah.
Organizational culture.
Yeah, and also, oh, well, we've always done it like this, we don't want to change.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, but for me, I say, well, give them the what's in it for me. So why should they change what they're doing? And it could be that one of their colleagues that they're working with is spending 2-3 hours a week fixing stuff because they haven't input information correctly. Maybe you could tie it to like performance reviews or a financial reward. If you hit your targets, then, you know, if you give them some motivation, which ultimately will help keep it. But, you know, I'm a realist. It's, you know, you're not going to get everybody on board, or if you do, it's going to take time, because not everybody will come to that conclusion at the same stage.
So somebody calls you up and says, Susan, my data is filthy.
Yeah.
Help me out. How does that first conversation go?
Well, first of all, I say, right, it's not as bad as you think. There will be a solution to fix this. The first thing I always ask is, like, what's your end goal? Let's not just think about fixing the data for right now. Let's think about longer term. What do you need in the future from your data so that we can build that into cleaning it now or categorizing it? And an example would be, depending on the level of detail in the data, I can either class it to like level 1 IT, level 2 hardware, or I could go to level 3 and 4 with like desktops, laptops, mouse, keyboard, monitor. Like, do you want that level of detail? Let's think about that now. You might not need it for today, but say in a year you might want it. Let's classify it like that now so that you have that information, because otherwise you're going to have to do the same exercise in a year's time to give the data more detail. And most of them don't think further than solving the problem. And I would love more people to be proactive in it, but I have to admit that pretty much everybody that comes to me is reactive, because it's hit the fan, they've got a problem, and it needs to be solved pretty quickly.
So Safe Software is a huge fan of yours.
I'm a big fan of theirs as well.
You presented, because I was here, unfortunately, I missed it.
Yeah, you get to talk to all these amazing people. Yeah, the dangers of dirty data, and honestly, I've been overwhelmed by the response. I've had so many people stop me and come up to me and say, oh my goodness, I have those problems. You were speaking to me when you said that. Or, you know, they enjoyed the humor that I inject into it as well, you know. And I really hope that, you know, even last night we went out and we enjoyed some time at like an arcade, and we were waiting on the coach at 10 p.m. at night or 9 p.m. at night, and someone came up to me and quoted Coke back to me. He remembered from the morning.
That's lovely.
And squeezing my microphone there, but that really just filled my soul with joy. Like that it really hit home for so many people, because spatial data is different to my usual kind of audience.
Yep.
And I did wonder whether it would resonate, but it just shows it does not matter what industry you're in and what you're doing.
Well, and I think, you know, the dirty secret of a lot of these organizations is the hygiene of their data.
Well, unfortunately, I guess it proves my success that I'm still going, that people are coming to me off the back of my presence on LinkedIn and the marketing that I do, because I can't publicly talk about the amazing companies and huge global companies I work with, because they don't want to admit that they've had a problem that needed fixed.
So we asked this question of everybody. I'm going to ask it of you. What piece of advice would you provide to somebody who is thinking about, trying to take their data integration to another level? They might have a few skeletons in the closet around what their data might look like, maybe a little sheepish about wanting to necessarily admit the error of their data ways. But what would you say to them to kind of coax them off the ledge?
Well, first of all, I would say you're not alone. Everybody suffers with this to some degree. Don't look at this challenge as a big, massive, start small, start with one area of your data and improve that first. So maybe that's customer data and names and addresses, and then maybe you want to move to product information and update that and find out, decide what your priority is in terms of the importance of the data, what should be fixed first, and do it in small chunks and get people who work with that data in those areas to clean it because they know it best. They know it best.
Excellent. Susan, thanks very much for swinging
so
by.
much.
It was a pleasure.
Really
Solutions Review is very interested in all that you're doing, and we're going to continue to follow you.
Thank you.
But best of luck with the rest of this show and the rest of the year.
I just got one more thing to say. So everyone thinks, we fixed our data, great. Actually, guess what? You have to maintain it. So the real secret to anything is regular maintenance. So once you put the coat on, you need to keep it on.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
All right, great.
Thank you.
Well, thanks very much.
Thanks a lot.